Hello.
Hey, welcome to our next episode. We are editors and coaches for fiction writers, and we also have ADHD, late diagnosed, and that is what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. So, welcome to the plotting shed. Come on in, get yourself a cup of tea and a biscuit. And if you have ADHD too, you're in the right place.
Yes, you're in good hands.
So, when were you diagnosed with ADHD, Isabel?
In October of 2024, so it's been less than a year that I've been officially diagnosed, and I was diagnosed in my 20s, late 20s. So yeah, it was a while. And you?
Yes. I was diagnosed in December 2024. So, we're both fresh diagnosed people, and I'm in my late 30s. So, yeah. Uh, I know that a lot of people will think, oh yeah, I've seen people online call it the like the ADHD wave of 2024 and stuff. Like, did you survive the ADHD wave of 2024? Which makes me laugh. But it's worth saying that ADHD in women shows up in different ways, and ADHD in women it was only started being researched when I was 21. So the research is getting to a point now where we're starting to understand how it appears in women and how it actually develops. And this is why it feels like lots of people are being diagnosed with ADHD.
Mm.
Um, so it's really interesting, isn't it? It's illuminating, is how I would describe it.
Definitely. We've had so many conversations going back and forth on, oh, I do this thing. Do you do that? You do that. Okay, that must be an ADHD thing. And then just figuring out all this stuff, helping each other out. It's been great.
It has been great. And I will say, um, it can be hard being a woman with ADHD because ADHD gets worse with hormonal changes. And so, I mean, obviously, at lots of different stages of your life, you go through loads of different hormonal stages. I mean, at my age, we're like looking at perimenopause, which is what caused me to go for a diagnosis because I went to the doctor and I was like, I've got all the symptoms of perimenopause. And she said, actually, you've also got all the symptoms of ADHD. And that's the thing, they have very similar symptoms, and hormones can make a huge difference. So, um, you know, we're both people who have been creative writers and editors and coaches before our diagnosis, but understanding how we do stuff afterwards is really interesting.
Yeah, it's been a big game changer. Understanding these things about ourselves so that we can better help ourselves and make things easier. So we wanted to share some of the ways that the ADHD impacts our writing, and how we kind of manage it. And also for anyone that is curious, I have combined ADHD, so it's the impulsive ADHD and it's the um, lack of attention. I can't think of the word right now. ADHD. Do you also have combined? Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
do.
So
We probably have different levels, right, of that. And also, I'm medicated,
mhm.
and that is not.
Yes. So
So
yeah,
that probably changes some things as well.
yes. So yeah, we're gonna just go through some of the most common ways that ADHD impacts us.
So when you are writing, how do you focus on writing without getting distracted?
Yeah. So I don't like in creative writing to have any kind of boundary or target or anything like that because that really stresses me out. I'm very much just free write. If it comes, it comes. But my biggest issue is that I'll sit down, get super prepared, get all my stuff, and then just go on my phone or do literally anything else other than write. So I usually move my phone out of arm's reach. And I work on Scrivener, which I love, which we'll talk about at some point. And that really helps me because it's its own platform. Um, yeah, and I try not to have any other Google app open, and I need complete silence. I can't have anything going on. Uh, and that usually helps me focus. What?
Yeah, I'm the same with the silence, absolutely. Like not even classical music. It just
Mm.
is too much. I have like this great little brick thing that has little, numbers on it, and you touch one side and it starts counting down for you, which is nice because I can't then keep checking it for like, oh, what time am I on now? What time am I on now? So I'll set it for like 20 minutes. But I am someone who likes those. I'm very kind of routine based. I love those kind of, you got to hit this by this time, XYZ. That really works for me. And so I think that's like a personality difference between you and me as well, isn't it? Like I'm somebody who likes to plot, you're somebody who likes to discover. Like we're both kind of work differently. And so that really works for me, having things like that, tools like that. I love a word count. And something that really works for me as well that I've kind of found recently is like gimmicks. Like my current novel, I'm writing on a typewriter because it's different enough to keep me engaged. It's like an extra element of like fun.
Yeah.
And that really helps me kind of want to do it because obviously we all love writing. That's why we're talking about it. But it doesn't mean that it's not hard and that it's not like annoying and that it's not something that sometimes you just don't want to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so we run a creative writing group together that does writing sprints. And I do enjoy those writing sprints because it's the only time that I will write with some kind of deadline. And having some focused, I guess, like dedicated time like that is really helpful. But usually I'll write in the evenings because that's when I'm most creative. And yeah, it's normally not too hard in the evenings. The morning is when I struggle. I'm not awake enough to be writing in the mornings. But I
Yeah.
know you like the mornings.
I love the mornings. I'm my best self in the mornings. And now that I am medicated, that's more true than it was before even. So, and that's because I take my medication in the morning.
Nice.
So yeah, I am my best self in the mornings, I think. And everybody has those different areas though of time, don't they? Those different
Mm.
spaces where they are at their most creative.
Yeah. And you mentioned being a plotter. So how do you make that work then as someone with ADHD?
Um, I think for me, and I don't know if this is to do with ADHD or not, but routine and a love of routine is definitely part of it. It's part of like managing expectations, I think, so that you can exist happily within them. And that's part of it for me. If I have plotted something, it makes me feel more positive about it and like calmer and just better about it. I don't always stick to the plot. Like absolutely not. Sometimes I'll go off piste and it'll turn out to be a better thing than I had planned originally, but that's just part of it, isn't it? I'd say I'm more of a gardener, like I like to plant a seed. I know what the plant is supposed to be, but then I'll watch it grow, and sometimes it turns into a slightly different plant.
Nice. Okay. And so then how do you organize all your planning?
Well, I'm not somebody who uses all the fancy stuff. I like Word and Post-its. That's just me.
Post-its. Okay.
Yeah, Word, Post-its, and even so with Post-its, I'm not somebody who I don't subscribe to the idea that like all novels have to be a certain structure
Mm,
or fit into a certain frame. That doesn't work for me because it kind of breaks my heart a bit if we kind of say that because it's art, it's artwork.
mm,
We're creating art. And if you are um creating artwork to like a paint by numbers and everybody gets the same paint by numbers, what a shame that
mm,
is. It just feels like a great shame to me. So I don't start to plot something with an idea in mind of this has to hit these certain beats by this point. That's not how I write at all. I start with a character, I think about the world, and then I will just kind of build this, I guess, this kind of who are they? What do they want? Why can't they have it? And it all starts to kind of build, and I'll start to kind of slot it in where I think it needs to go. And sometimes that changes as well. But
mm.
how about you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely the discovery pantser drafter. I will do very minimal planning to kind of know my character, my antagonist, my protagonist, antagonist, generally what the story is, what the inciting incident is. And then I might have a few kind of signpost scenes of like the midpoint and generally what the ending will be. So I've got some level of direction, but most of Act Two, I will just make up as I'm going. And I love that. I hate any kind of restriction, like deadline, routine. I hate all of it. And I've tried really hard in the past to be a plotter because that's what everyone says in all the blog posts, and it just doesn't work. It takes all the fun out of it because kind of like the stereotype they have of ADHD where you like get all your paints out, you set yourself up, and it's like such a nice environment, and then you don't actually want to do the thing. It's kind of like that I've planned out the whole book. I now don't want to write it because I already know it so well.
You've done it.
Um,
You've already done it, is how you feel,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Um, so
Interesting.
yeah, I have a very kind of lax approach to
And you
it.
don't like have a routine in your everyday life. You don't like every day is not, the same as it were.
Not, I mean, I kind of have to, I guess, for work because I know I do my best editing and coaching work in the morning, ironically, and then I do all like the more creative stuff in the afternoon. But that's about as much of a routine as I kind of get. Uh, yeah, I can't have like from 9 till 10, we're doing this. That doesn't work.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I keep it very open and I write when I'm inspired. Uh, and I set sort of the groundwork of what the story will be. And it's usually in a notebook. I love a notebook, plan by hand, and then build it out in Scrivener. And then, like you, I don't have an idea of Act One needs to be 6 chapters. It just is whatever it's going to be. And then I'll make it work in revisions.
Yeah, right, because that's where the magic happens. In the
Mm.
editing is where things become really good. That's yeah, that's how it happens. So how do you handle perfectionism then?
Well, it's funny because I actually I have a lot of perfectionism issues in the first draft. So I prefer drafting to revising. And even though I have a really good system now to make revising enjoyable, I still prefer drafting. And I would prefer that I did one perfect first draft and that was it. And it was gold and I didn't have to touch it again. So I find it really hard then to accept sometimes that the first draft is not perfect. There's a lot of note taking constantly while I'm drafting to try and get around the perfectionism to
Hmm.
force me to leave it until later. But yeah, my perfectionism comes out with just wanting the first draft to be as clean as possible.
Yeah, I get that. I work with a lot of people who struggle with perfectionism.
Mm, it's
I
so
think it's
big.
a classic writer's trait in a way. Like,
Mm,
aside from ADHD, people struggle with it. And part of the reason I think is because we're all reading these amazing books, the bestsellers. And aren't we just comparing our first draft with those, which
mm,
is impossible to do? Because how could a book that has gone through like so many edits be like the same as your first draft? It can never be. It could never be. It's not possible.
yeah.
Uh, Perfectionism isn't like it tells you that you can have a perfect novel, but there is no such thing.
Mm,
Like there's no novel that's perfect because it's a subjective art,
yeah.
and
And
anything
it's
is
so
subjective is confusing to me.
yes, and it's so hard as well to know sometimes what you have missed in your own writing. You need that outside perspective because you know the work so well
Mm.
that you can't get it right the first time. But yeah, how does your perfectionism come out?
Um, it's quite interesting because when we kind of first talked about perfectionism, I was like, oh, it doesn't bother me. But that's not true. Because I had to do a lot of work to like mental work, like working with myself to get past this idea that it was like maybe less good to write fantasy, which is what I'm a fantasy writer. It's all I've ever wanted to be. And I say fantasy, I mean they're in second worlds. It's magical realism. I love that. That's what lights me up. That's what I love to read. But I spent 8 years in higher education doing creative writing, and the focus was hard on literary fiction,
Right.
and not through choice. Like that was the general opinion. One of my favorite lecturers, and he was wonderful. Um, really poo-pooed any fantasy, and so I developed this sort of idea that if I wrote something that wasn't literary fiction, it it wasn't right. And I've really struggled against that. I've got to go like it took me years to get to the point where I was like, no, this is what I like, this is what I want to write. I love genre fiction and
Mhm.
it's as good as literary fiction, and that's great.
Yeah.
Um, I really had to ask myself some really serious questions. Do you want to enjoy your writing career? Do you want to win the book prize?
Mm.
Right? And I want to enjoy my writing career. So that was hard. And I think that a lot of that was to do with perfectionism,
Hmm.
trying really hard to be this like perfect good writer that I had learned that I should be. So
Mm.
that was difficult. But in terms of actually writing, I don't so much kind of worry about that in the first draft. I can like hammer out a first draft without worrying too much about it. But my perfectionism comes through in like different ways. I really hyper focus on research to a silly point. I get obsessed with research. What like you can see it if you look at my Instagram grid. You can see what I'm writing at the time of whatever it is. So when I was writing The Birth of Ida, all of my photos would be of, I mean, I've always ridden horses, but all of my photos would have been like me wearing cowboy hat, me at the stables, me doing this, me doing that, horses, how horses relate to writing. That
Mm.
was like everything. Um, and then when I was, writing Witchborn, the same is true for medieval history. And all of my photos are like cosplay. I've got the most ridiculous amount of medieval cosplay now. But I really hyper focus on whatever thing I'm researching. And I get really like bothered by those facts. Like they, even though it's a fantasy world, they got to be right.
Mm.
So, you wouldn't find a potato in Witchborn. I would never have it. And then if I go to, and I do go to like medieval banquets, it's really fun for me. If they serve me a potato course, I feel quite put out, come off it. Like that's not because, you couldn't say really that the potato is a medieval food. It's not. It came in with Elizabeth I. It's very much Tudor, and whether or not Tudor England is also medieval England is a massive discussion. So but it's just the research element. I get so deep into it, I find it hard to pull myself out.
Mhm. Well, there you go. We've learned some facts now. Our own English historian on the potato.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it is hard though when you hyperfixate. It's yeah. Um,
Yeah. It's like the hobby graveyard, isn't it? You know,
oh my God.
for a while, all I wanted to do was cross stitch, bought all the stuff. I did one.
I didn't realize that you'd finished. I didn't realize that was it.
Yeah, I did do one, but no, I haven't done it in the last, what, 6 months?
Oh wow. All right. Yeah.
Annoying. It's annoying.
Yeah. But like the whole shiny new idea thing is also true of so many writers, but definitely with ADHD, it's rough being constantly inspired by the simplest things and being like, that's a good idea. I should write that. And having to force yourself not to. It's it's tough.
It is tough. We've had conversations before where I've said I just really want to write this thing,
Mm.
and you've kind of got to like go for it. But I can't let myself because I can't allow it because if I allow it, I'm scared that it'll happen again and then again and again, and I'll never have any novels, you know?
Yeah.
So I am someone who like digs my heels in. I'm like, no, I will finish this until it is done. How about you? Do you let yourself jump to a new project?
I do. So I haven't quite mastered the art of multitasking different projects at once. I can't do that because I end up hyperfixating on one and then the other one just gets totally forgotten. But I if I'm writing something, so a couple of years ago, I think it was 2022 maybe, um, in our writing group, I was working on this sort of like magical person, what is it, private detective, private investigator book. Really enjoying it, pantsing my way through, got to the midpoint, and then just didn't have a clue where the story went from there. I had absolutely zero direction, and I felt like I didn't have enough plot to actually sustain an entire novel. And at that point, because the book just didn't feel like it was working and I couldn't figure out what was wrong, then I switched to something else.
Mm,
So if it isn't working, I'm very lenient with myself and give myself permission to then jump ship. I
interesting.
wouldn't force myself through a book because I know I would hate myself for doing that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm in a kind of similar situation at the moment with the book I'm writing currently, but it's like 50,000 words through.
Mm.
So I'll be damned if I'm letting those 50,000 words go to waste. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, nah. So I printed it and I'm, taking myself through my own program.
Hmm.
And already I can see a way out. And I do think that sometimes changing the format helps, right? So you changing the format makes you see it in a different way. You read it as a reader as
Mm.
opposed to the writer. And when you're reading things as a reader, you can see a different route.
Yeah. And I think I really loved the story and the idea and the characters and everything that I think now because it's been so long, I could go back to it with completely fresh eyes and see it again differently. But I was so in it at the time, it was really hard. And I know that you've had quite a break from the one you're working on at the moment.
I've had a 6 month break.
Yeah, that's nice.
It does make a massive difference in being able to see it.
Mm.
Um, and that's part of it as well, being in it, right? Hyperfocus is a real thing for people with
Mm.
ADHD. Uh, how do you kind of handle hyperfocus?
That's yeah. Um, I have a problem with more than I'll hyperfocus in a writing session. And it ends up being quite damaging to my eyes and my wrists because I'm just spending 2 hours just like that at the screen. And I type very quickly. So then my hands end up cramping and my wrists hurt because they're doing that kind of sideways action, which is bad. And I've got really terrible posture. So it's just an all-around bad combination. And I have to force myself, also because I sit at my bed, sit on my bed, and I end up punching, and I have to force my head to go backwards because it's just such a bad way to sit. And yeah, so I'm trying really hard now to be really aware of those type of fixation moments, and when there is a pause in the writing, to kind of force myself to come out of it and be aware of my surroundings, make
Yes.
myself look up, take my glasses off, sit back a bit, crack my back, and then carry on. Yeah.
So
What
you,
about you?
you work in bed, do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
don't,
can't. I
is
don't
that
like
what
typing at a desk. No. It's it distinguishes it from work if I can type on a couch or on my bed. Uh,
interesting?
but I need to come up with a better system for my back because genuinely I'm concerned.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do hyperfocus when writing and also when editing as well. Sometimes I'm
Mm,
like, okay, you really need to leave the computer and just step away and break, like just take a breath of fresh air.
yeah.
Probably the best thing I've got for hyperfocus is my dog. Like you can't hyperfocus for hours if you have a dog. They just don't allow it. They're like, you need to take a break. And they're really good for that. Like
Mm,
he's great at being like, you need a break, you need to feed me, you need to walk me, let's go.
yep.
And that makes a massive difference. I'm more likely to hyperfocus if I'm gaming.
Mhm.
It's just a very immersive thing for me. I play like RPGs, so it's open world and it's just very immersive. So I'm more likely to hyperfocus for hours and hours then. I lose hours. I have to be careful. I don't game apart from at the weekend because of my
Mhm.
tendency to hyperfocus, and I don't want to lose time in the week. So
Yeah.
I put restrictions on things so that I can use my time cleverly, I suppose. So do you ever struggle with memory issues, which is quite a common part of having ADHD?
Yes, um, definitely. So I'll realize as I'm writing, and also because I'm a pantser, oh, I've been setting up this thing that I didn't realize. And now in chapter 23, I've said that this person has done this thing that wasn't mentioned anywhere else. So then I'll go back and I'll have to add it in because otherwise I'm going to forget to do it. So I have started in Scrivener, which has been really helpful, writing out like a summary of what that chapter is.
Mm. Yeah, it's so helpful.
Um, yeah, I've never done that before, but now I've got like little scene card things, and so I'll write out what that chapter is going to be, what day it is as well in the book, because I always forget timing or like weather. I'm terrible for that. Um, and so when I am going to start a new chapter, I'll remember then what the next chapter was supposed to be because I've already told myself what it
Good.
was. So that's been really helpful. But yeah, I definitely fall into the trap of forgetting things or forgetting that I've already written something in chapter 3 and then repeating the information again and being like, don't need that. That's repetition.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I do a similar thing. I like if I'm leaving a chapter because I've got to go somewhere or something like that, I'll bullet point what I need to know for next time. Just really quick,
Mhm.
like this happens, she says this, blah blah blah. And that usually reminds me. But yeah, I have kind of novels where I've written like chapter by chapter, sentence by sentence plans. So I'm like, I know exactly what's happening, and that's really useful. But I've also had times where I have left a writing session in the middle of a sentence, thinking that it's really obvious what I'm going to say next. And then when I go back to it, I'm like, what on earth were you going to say next? I can't imagine what you were going to say next, but it seems so clear to me at the
Yeah.
time. But memory is a problem. And I think that in terms of thinking of a great idea in the middle of the night or like when I'm on a dog walk or something like that. I mean, when I'm on a dog walk, I will just like leave myself like a note or I'll message somebody and say like, oh, just ignore this. This is just for me. Um, or I'll email myself and stuff, and that really helps. But if it's the middle of the night, I mean, usually it's not that gold anyway. Do you know what I mean? You think it is, but it never is. It's never that good. Well, I hope you enjoyed hearing us talk about ADHD and creativity. And if there's anything that you have noticed with your ADHD and how you overcome it to be creative and all these things, do tell us in the comments. We would love to know.
Yes. And like, subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram in the caption, and we'll see you in the next video.
See you in the next video.